So a while back, I made a video on my old carbine setup, and I was talking about how it was a pretty retro setup for the current time being. And I spoke a lot about how I had a desire to upgrade the setup, and I ended up doing just that. So here's my upgraded carbine. This is my shit hits the fan workhorse, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. I'm just gonna go tip to butt and show you what it's all about. I made some great upgrades, some of which are thanks to the comments on my last video, so I really appreciate all that. But anyway, starting from the top, we've got the Surefire muzzle brake, same one from my last carbine build. This is the same overall carbine. The heart of the rifle is exactly the same, but some different things are changed, obviously, as you can see. And my Surefire muzzle device accommodates the Surefire SOCOM 556 RC2, and I'm a big fan of the muzzle device as it is. It makes the rifle shoot extremely flat, even flatter now that I have some more parts and doodads on the rifle. Adding some weight shoots extremely flat, but I'll be completely honest, I don't like to shoot it suppressed. Shooting it suppressed is extremely unpleasant. There's a lot of gas that comes back into my face. I need to get a gas buster charging handle, but from what I understand, that's not going to help so much, so it's going to still be an unpleasant experience. And the recoil impulse is a lot greater with the suppressor on there. The muzzle flip is a little bit more. I'm having a harder time getting follow-up shots. The rifle just shoots a lot smoother without suppressor on it, and I enjoy shooting it more unsuppressed. This is my first suppressor, actually, next to my Omega 9K from Silencer Co. But yeah, I'm not enjoying it that much so far. It's great, it's cool, don't get me wrong, but whatever. Moving back, I've got my Surefire Scout Light, obviously, same one from my last build. And then above that, I've got the Somo Gear Pack 15, which I plan on using for some night vision stuff. Don't have that quite yet. But more importantly, you'll notice the biggest change on this rifle is the DD Riz 3. This is the M-Lock FSP version, obviously, as you can tell. And I'm extremely happy with it so far. I decided to go for black. I didn't really want to do the contrasting FDE, which might have looked pretty good as well, but I like black on black. It's just kind of my thing. I had to go for the FSP version because I wasn't going to get a low profile gas block. I like the Block 2 look, so I decided to keep that. And I threw on there some BCM rail covers and an angled foregrip. And you'll notice as well that I'm showing off here the goon tape that I have wrapped around the gas block area. That's because it gets extremely hot, and that just kind of keeps me from touching the gas block directly, which is possible through some of the M-Lock holes that are cut out there. So I decided to mitigate that as much as possible. And the Surefire light, along with the PEC 15, make this an extremely front heavy setup. So underneath the DD Riz 3 is obviously, like I mentioned in my last video, the SOCOM profile heavy barrel, and along with the robustness and the weight of the new handguard, makes this an extremely front heavy setup. So it does shoot very flat, but everything from the chamber forward is extremely heavy, and that's where most of the changes are, obviously. Besides, moving back now, you can see that I mounted an EXPS3. This is the EXPS3-2, so it's got the two dots in the middle of the donut, and I'm pretty happy with this. I wanted to go for the EXPS3, obviously, because I'm looking to do night vision here, so this entire rifle is basically set up for night vision now. The only thing I want to change is throw on a Unity fast mount for passive aiming through nods, and then I want to get a magnifier as well, but I'll talk more about that in a minute. Moving down just a little bit, I got myself a T-Mag. The T-Mag is obviously the brand new translucent version of the P-Mag for Magpul. I've had no problems with it so far. I've dropped it doing reloads and so on and so forth. I've kind of abused it, not an extreme amount or anything like that, but it's treated me very well so far. Next to that, something you can't see that I've changed, or maybe you can, depending on how good your eyes are or how much you remember the last video, the nickel boron mil-spec trigger is gone from Spike's Tactical, and I've thrown in a Geisley SSAE. I got this on sale on Primary Arms. I couldn't pass it up, and this extremely amazing trigger. It's so smooth and so crisp at the break. I'm extremely happy with it. Moving on back from there, I've got the BCM Mod 3 Gunfighter grip, and more importantly, possibly most importantly, the best change I've made on this build so far is in the buffer tube there. You've noticed I've still got my CTR stock, but inside of this buffer tube, I now have an H3 buffer from Bravo Company and a Springco Blue spring. Now, this was at the behest of a commenter from my previous video, and I am so glad that I took his advice. I'll throw it up on the screen here. Big thanks to him for giving me this recommendation. It's made it an extremely smooth setup to shoot. In combination with the Springco Blue, the H3 buffer, the SSAE trigger, the new front heavy weight of the rifle with the RIS 3, the Somo gear pack, and the Scout Light, sometimes with the suppressor on there, generally speaking not really, makes this an extremely pleasant rifle to shoot. I am so happy with it in that respect. Even with the carbine length gas system, I'm so surprised with how smooth this rifle shoots. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, there are some complaints I do have with the rifle. In general, I would say that it's a pretty heavy rifle. I would say it's very robust, so the weight of the rifle is less of an issue because I know that this rifle isn't going to break down on me, you know, depending on certain exigent circumstances. I can feed it a lot of shitty ammo. It's going to chew through it because of the carbine length gas system. I can drop the shit out of it, and I'm probably not going to have issues with my rail coming loose or anything like that because it's a Daniel Defense. It's, you know, it's SOCOM certified. The RIS 3 rail is just the same as the RIS 2, which was in use with SOCOM for so long. It just has M-Lock now instead of Picatinny. I got a Surefire light on there. I got an EOTech EXPS on there. Obviously, I'm not going to trust my Somo gear to hold zero after strenuous strings of fire or dropping the rifle, anything beyond normal circumstances. But in general, this rifle is going to be extremely robust, but with that robustness comes an extreme amount of weight. I notice I get very tired after long strings of fire with this, or long drills that, you know, are generally more than 12 rounds a piece, or if I'm firing whole mags from this thing, I get extremely tired. You know, LARPing around the house, around my mom's basement while she makes my chicken nuggets, this thing is not easy to do CQB with. Clearing rooms, clearing corners is not an easy thing to do. I don't plan on doing any CQB, but, you know, it's a far cry from an 11.5-inch Bravo company or something like that, a lighter rifle that's obviously a lot shorter and a lot less front heavy. It's a far cry from that, especially with that suppressor on there. Forget about it. I can do probably 5 minutes of CQB and I'm done for. But anyway, I'm extremely happy with this rifle. I hope you guys like what I did with it. I got a couple more things I want to do. Like I said, throw a Unity riser underneath the EOTech, give myself a flip to center Unity mount for the 5X magnifier from EOTech, and then I am actually going to be about done with the rifle. One thing that I did not mention and that I did want to touch on is the Haley Strategic Sling. So this is the only part of the rifle I haven't mentioned yet, and there's a reason for this. I'm extremely unhappy with this sling and with the product itself from Haley Strategic. They make fantastic products in general. I have their placards, I have some other devices from them, I have mounts, I have other things, but this sling in particular, there's no reason for a sling like this to be on the market, and I'm going to explain why. The reason being that this tri-glide here on the sling does not function as advertised. It takes an extreme amount of force to get this tri-glide tightened up. To loosen up is no problem, but to get it tightened up, pulling towards the body, and getting that rifle snug on you is extremely difficult. Now, I had heard something about this on a 1911 Syndicate sling video from a while back, and they had mentioned that there was this issue that was occurring with their particular sling, and that it might just be their particular sling, so on and so forth. Don't hesitate to order it, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of forgot about it. I ordered myself the sling, and to my surprise, I get the sling, and I have this exact issue with it. Now, I contacted Haley Strategic, and what they told me about this issue in particular is that they were aware of it, and there was a couple different solutions that they could offer me. One being that they could just send me a new sling. They could refund my money for this one, send me a new sling, or they could just give me a refund and I don't have to order a new sling if I don't want. Or, number two, he instructed me that I could soak the sling in some water near the tri-glide and use the tri-glide, move it back and forth enough to get this starch, apparently, that is in the fabric, now out of the fabric, by rubbing it back and forth after it's being soaked in water. Now, whatever this starch issue is with their slings, in my opinion, is completely unacceptable. Haley Strategic is a gear provider for law enforcement and military. Everybody knows this. They're at the tip of the spear as far as providing gear for law enforcement and military, and there's no excuse for them to provide a sling to the market that doesn't function properly on the tri-glide. I don't know, whatever starch it is that they're using for the black slings or whatever different solid color slings have this issue, it's not acceptable. And to be honest with you, what should have happened when I contacted Haley Strategic customer service was they should have told me, hey, look, this is not acceptable, and what I'm going to do is make sure that I get you a sling that works before I send it out, and then I'll send you that sling, and you can send that one back to me, and we'll take care of the issue. But I want to get you a sling that works before anything. That should have been what happened, in my opinion, 100% point blank. And, you know, I was surprised to see that they weren't willing to do that, and that their only options offered to me were I have to fix the sling myself, which should not be the case, obviously, or I send the sling back for a refund. They didn't really offer any good solution to the problem. Anyway, those are really my only complaints with the rifle. Overall, I'm super, super happy with it. I think it looks sick. I am excited to continue shooting it. I'm excited to continue to bring you guys videos on it. Maybe I'll have some videos here in the future on it. But next up, I think what I'm actually going to do is take advantage of the Black Friday sale coming up next week on most of the major retailers and hopefully set up a nice SPR build. I've got my dad's 16-inch Bravo Company rifle that he doesn't ever shoot and doesn't barely ever do anything with, so I think I'm going to trick it out and do a nice SPR build with that, and I'm going to bring you guys a video on that pretty soon here as well. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.
I know. Oh, hell no, man.